Hello and welcome to a special circumstance review. Today we're going to take a look at the Nextorch WL10 executor. This is my second Nextorch weapons light review. This is basically the revised version or upgraded version of their original weapons light, and it brings a number of really nice upgrades into their lineup. So, single cell CR123, all aluminum body, has a fairly innovative mount and an excellent switching system. Big fan of the way this actually works. Reflector, not optic. And battery loads from the front, which means you can mount it and not have to take it off your firearm in order to actually replace the battery. Nextorch's approach to recoil mitigation is actually this rubber disc here, which serves to cushion the battery. And you have your O-ring as well. Threads are not anodized. That's pretty common with these. And I don't know if you can actually see that in there, but there's actually a spring down at the bottom. And battery loads with the positive pull forward. Output on this one is about 230 lumens. Also just want to say that this is a long overdue review, and I hope Nextorch aren't too mad at me for taking so long. The mount is extremely simple. You basically just turn this disc here, and the bar you see in the center will actually fit into the notch on your Picatinny rail or universal rail. It is both good and bad. At first I was kind of skeptical whether or not it would actually stay tight and not loosen during firings. But I ran a few hundred rounds through it with this mount, and I really had no issues with it. It stayed in place. My main issue with it really is that the positioning on it could be a little better. This really fits best on a full-sized Glock. That's really where you get the best fit. If you have a full-length Picatinny rail or a full-size Picatinny rail, that also works fairly well. But for the vast majority of handguns that I tested it on, it really fit much better on the Glocks. It really felt like it was made for the Glock practically. And I'll demonstrate this with my XD. So, weapon is clear. Okay. Basically, you slide it on like this, and then you just spin the dial, basically. And you can kind of see what I mean here. It's not so bad back here. Like this positioning is honestly fine because you don't really want the paddles or the switches to intrude into the trigger guard. They could have gone back just a smidge further, but it's not too big a deal. My main concern is how far forward this puts the rest of the light with this mount. So you have really only minimal engagement on the rails here. What I would like to see is this angle here to be pointed the other way. That would give you some more engagement on the rail surface, and the problem is that once you start tightening it, you can kind of see what happens here. It forces the front of the light down. You can see how this is kind of going at a downward angle, and that's not something I'm not too fond of. With a longer rail engagement towards the rear of the light, I think you would have a better result, and it would fit better on most firearms as well. Other than that, it's actually a pretty nice size. It's very compact. Again, single CR123. So, other than the switches, it's really not wider than the firearm itself is. Switches do protrude some from the side, but even so, if you look at it from the top here, you can see that they just barely protrude on the sides. So not much wider than the gun itself. Pretty compact. what I really like about it is just how dead nuts simple this is. So in your standard handgun grip, it's right there. I mean, you barely have to articulate your thumb at all, and the light comes on. You have a momentary, and then the full press will give you the actual, will give you the constant on. No strobes or anything like that. Pretty decent beam shot as well, or beam quality, I guess you could call it. And we're going to show you that here. Might overload the camera, but we'll have to deal. So you can see here, got a nice defined central hotspot and a wide exterior beam, or a wide spill beam. So it really does a good job at lighting up most of the room with one fell swoop. Switching is very positive. It is fairly sensitive. You don't have to exert a whole lot of pressure on it. But it really feels quite good, and as far as I'm concerned, the switching on this is honestly probably one of the most comfortable and intuitive switches out there. The only close competition would probably be something like the Inforce APL, which I've also just reviewed. This one is probably a little bit more prone to an accidental light discharge, so that's something to be aware of, just from the way that it's set up. But really, this is a heck of an upgrade from their first weapons light offering. More compact, vastly improved switching system, and it just is overall, why it's a slightly longer light overall, it's much better constructed. It really is. So really the only main beef that I have with the design as it is the mount, and how I would like to see this rear angle turned the other way so you'd have more rail engagement. I think that would be a huge benefit for the way this light works in general. And just other than that, it's really a very nice light. And then if you have a Glock, well, you really don't have anything to worry about. This thing will work fantastically on a Glock. And especially for the money, these things are right about $100. That's an outstanding deal. I think they're actually quite a bit under right now. Off the top of my head, I want to say the last price I saw on these were like $70. I put, like I said, several hundred rounds through it, and I have no issues whatsoever. Now, these are made in China. Lots of flashlights are made in China these days. I don't really have an issue with it. It all depends on which company you get your flashlights from. Same thing with other products made in China. You can have good stuff like Arcturix, or you can have crap stuff like most of the stuff you see, and especially the flashlight that comes out of there with pretty much anything that ends in a fire, like Ultrafire, Sunfire, etc. Those are pretty much all garbage. But these, especially for the money, is a fantastic little budget weapons light that appears to work quite well. Now, I will just finish off by saying I really wish they hadn't named it the Executor. It just is not a good precedent to set. I really would like something a little bit more innocuous. I mean, WL10 would have been plenty. No need to actually refer to it as the Executor. Oh, and one thing that I almost forgot to mention. It does have a lockout. It doesn't work all that well, at least not on this sample. So basically, I'll turn it on here. It's not just a quarter turn, it's several turns, as you can see here. So there you go. That's quite a lot of turn, and you actually end up with a wide gap here. And for a lockout, it shouldn't be much more than maybe a quarter turn or even a half turn. In this case, I'm doing several revolutions and before it actually locks out. So that could be a little bit better. So, but that being said, for the money, I don't know that you can find a better weapons light. This is certainly a better option than most of the what are they even called? NC Star lights that you see in a similar price range. So if you're looking for something cheap, something that still is going to work fairly well, has a good output, decent runtime at about an hour and a half, give these guys a shot. Especially if you have a Glock. If you have a Glock, this thing is basically built for it. So absolutely give it a shot. You're only going to be out just a little bit of money, certainly a lot less than what most weapons light will cost you. So, all right, thank you for watching, and have a great day.